Have you ever seen a player lose a match and somehow become the biggest winner of the tournament? That is exactly what happened at Wimbledon 2026. The scoreboard showed Jasmine Paolini had won the match. The dream run was officially over, but something extraordinary happened next. Instead of walking straight toward the locker room, Alexandra Eala stopped, turned toward the packed stands, raised both hands above her head and formed a heart with her fingers. In an instant, center court erupted. The cheers weren't just for a talented young player who had exceeded expectations. They were for a new global tennis sensation. Fans stayed in their seats, waving Philippine flags, chanting her name, and waiting for one last moment with the woman who had captured the hearts of millions over the previous 2 weeks. For anyone watching, it felt strange. This was supposed to be the moment everyone celebrated the winner. Instead, much of the conversation centered around the player who had just lost. That raises an interesting question. Was Alexandra Eala actually the biggest story of Wimbledon 2026, even bigger than the champion herself? Let me know what you think in the comments, because by the end of this video you might have a completely different answer. Just 1 week earlier, almost nobody expected this story to unfold. Alexandra Eala arrived at the All England club carrying the hopes of an entire nation. She had already established herself as one of the brightest young talents in women's tennis, but Wimbledon has a way of exposing every weakness. Grass courts reward experience, patience, and confidence, qualities usually possessed by established champions, not rising stars still writing the first chapters of their careers. Yet Eala looked completely fearless. From her opening match, there was something different about the atmosphere whenever she stepped onto the court. Fans lined up early just to watch her practice. Filipino supporters traveled from across Europe to cheer her on. Even neutral spectators found themselves drawn to her aggressive baseline game, fearless shot-making, and calm personality under pressure. Every round she survived seemed to attract even more attention. Every victory brought a larger crowd. And every autograph session became longer than the last. Unlike many players who leave quickly after a match, Eala made time for the people who had come to support her. Children waited patiently along the barriers. Families held out tennis balls, caps, and programs. She signed as many as she could, smiled for photos, and thanked the fans one by one. Those moments may not appear on the official scoreboard, but they helped create something much bigger than wins and losses. They created a connection. Her opening round victory immediately showed that she belonged on one of tennis's biggest stages. She played with confidence, controlled the rallies from the baseline, and looked surprisingly comfortable despite the enormous pressure. The crowd noticed. By the second round, something unusual happened. After battling back to win a tough 3-set match, Eala mentioned during her post-match interview that it was her coach's birthday. Within seconds, the Wimbledon crowd began singing "Happy Birthday." It was one of those spontaneous moments that no one plans. Thousands of strangers celebrated someone they had never met simply because they had become invested in Alexandra Eala's journey. Moments like that cannot be manufactured. They happen only when fans genuinely care. And after the interview ended, she once again walked over to the barriers. More signatures. More selfies. More smiles. Each passing day made it increasingly clear that this wasn't simply a good tournament run. Something special was happening. Then came the match that changed everything. Standing across the net was one of the biggest names in women's tennis. A Grand Slam champion. One of the tournament favorites. Almost everyone expected experience to prevail. Instead, Alexandra Eala delivered the performance of her career. From the opening games, she attacked without hesitation. She took the ball early. She redirected pace brilliantly. She refused to let the occasion overwhelm her. Every winner sent another wave of energy through center court. Every break of serve increased the belief that history was unfolding right in front of everyone's eyes. By the end of the match, the impossible had become reality. Alexandra Eala had pulled off one of the biggest upsets of Wimbledon. The crowd rose to its feet. Television commentators struggled to hide their excitement. Social media exploded within minutes. Fans around the world suddenly wanted to know one thing. Who is Alexandra Eala? Searches for her name skyrocketed. Highlight clips spread rapidly across YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and X. Sports networks across Asia, Europe, and North America began leading with the story. For many viewers, this wasn't just another upset. It felt like the arrival of tennis's next global star. Back home in the Philippines, the reaction was unlike anything the sport had experienced before. People gathered in restaurants, shopping malls, schools, offices, and community centers to watch her matches together. Social media timelines filled with celebrations. News channels interrupted regular programming to provide updates. For a country with relatively little history at the highest level of professional tennis, Eala's success felt deeply personal. She wasn't simply winning matches. She was changing perceptions. Young athletes suddenly had someone proving that world-class tennis wasn't limited to traditional powerhouse nations. Parents saw a new role model. Children picked up tennis rackets. And longtime fans realized they were witnessing history. Even national leaders publicly congratulated her remarkable Wimbledon run, praising her determination and the pride she had brought to the country. By this point, Alex Eala was no longer just representing herself. She had become a symbol of possibility for millions of people. And as the second week of Wimbledon began, the pressure only grew. The spotlight became brighter. The expectations became higher. Standing between Eala and a place in the quarterfinals was one of the most experienced competitors on the WTA Tour, Jasmine Paolini. It was a matchup filled with storylines. A rematch. A test of composure. And perhaps the biggest challenge of Alexandra Eala's career. When Alexandra Eala walked onto center court to face Jasmine Paolini, the atmosphere felt completely different from any match she had played before. This wasn't simply another round at Wimbledon. It was a proving ground. One victory would send her into the quarterfinals of the world's most prestigious tennis tournament. A loss would end the greatest Grand Slam run of her young career. But Paolini wasn't interested in becoming another chapter in Eala's fairy tale. The Italian star arrived with experience, confidence, and a clear game plan. She knew exactly how dangerous Eala had become after eliminating one of the tournament favorites just days earlier. From the opening games, both players exchanged breathtaking rallies. Neither woman wanted to blink first. Paolini's movement was exceptional. Eala answered with fearless winners from both wings. Every point brought louder applause. Every game increased the tension. The first set became a battle of patience and precision. Although Eala produced flashes of brilliance, Paolini's consistency eventually made the difference. She claimed the opening set, putting herself one step closer to victory. For many young players, that would have been the beginning of the end. But Alexandra Eala had already proven throughout Wimbledon that she never stopped believing. She returned to the court for the second set with renewed confidence. Her footwork became sharper. Her forehand found the corners. She attacked second serves with authority. The momentum slowly began to shift. One break of serve became two. The center court crowd sensed something special was happening once again. With every winner, the cheers grew louder. Filipino flags waved proudly throughout the stadium. Neutral fans found themselves cheering just as loudly. By the time Eala captured the second set, the entire stadium had become emotionally invested in her story. The match was going the distance. Everything would be decided in one final set. This was no longer just a tennis match. It had become one of the defining moments of Wimbledon 2026. The deciding set delivered exactly what fans had hoped for. Long rallies. Huge pressure. Moments of brilliance from both players. Neither competitor was willing to surrender. Every service game felt like it could change the outcome. At one stage, it looked as though Eala might complete another incredible comeback. The crowd believed. Her supporters believed. Even television commentators began wondering if another historic upset was about to unfold. But Grand Slam tennis often comes down to the smallest details. A missed first serve. A rushed forehand. One difficult return. One moment of hesitation. Those tiny margins can decide everything. As the pressure reached its highest point, Paolini relied on her experience. She stayed composed during the biggest moments. She earned the crucial break of serve. And despite Eala fighting until the very last point, the Italian closed out the match. The scoreboard confirmed it. Alexandra Eala's unforgettable Wimbledon journey had come to an end. Or so everyone thought. Because what happened next became one of the tournament's most unforgettable images. Instead of disappointment, the crowd stood and applauded. Thousands of spectators remained on their feet. The ovation lasted far longer than anyone expected. Then Eala turned toward the stands. She smiled,